This begs another question because I hear the passion. You're an HR professional. If I were to ask you from all those places that you've worked, if you were to say the executive leadership that I worked with at all those different companies, if I had to rate on that same 1 to 10 scale how I thought leadership would have, based on my interactions with them, on that 1 to 10 scale, what do you think leadership from your experience would rate it on that scale 1 to 10?
That is an interesting question to throw me as an HR person. So I will tell you what they would tell me it is, and then I can tell you my reality. So every leadership that I worked with would tell you that it is a 10. They would tell you culture is incredibly important. The problem is that leadership loses sight of culture when the rubber hits the road, kind of a situation where they're having either stockholders or shareholders, or they're feeling the pressure on pricing and everything. Culture can take a back step. And this is where we walk a thin line as HR, because we're trying to be the culture champions for things. But then we also have to be aware of the business needs and trying to blend those as much as possible. Yes, we may have certain issues coming on. In fact, there was one of the companies I worked at, and we'll save the names to protect the innocent, situation where my department head at the time was trying to work on something that was very culture oriented and was hitting up the CEO about it. And he sent her a message and said, I don't have time for that right now. Some of us are trying to find millions of dollars in profit. So that is where rubber hits the road, that we take a back step off of things, because yes, we're trying to find things at the end of year, we're trying to wrap things up, but we have to remember that it's all about the people. And without the people, we're not going to be able to produce any of that profit, because they're not going to really care about it and try to get there. So I would say leadership believes it is vital, but doesn't always act in that best interest. And that's where HR has to step in and remind people and hold that mirror up.
So, if I'm taking away from what you said there correctly, there is a gap. There is a gap between how important culture in an organization and not what leadership says, but actions speak louder than words. There's a gap between how important you see it and the actions that you've seen over time from leadership.
Yes, as a general rule, I do see that. And it is basically a byproduct of being in roles that you're in. You do have those pressures coming in from multiple areas. You can try and satisfy multiple things. So it is easy to forget the foundations of what you are trying to build. And that is, again, where HR has to step into this. Not all HR people are culture driven. I am, but not everybody. Some people are not. They're all just about good HR. And I think good HR is great to have off things, but not everybody is about culture off things. So you have to have somebody in your organization who is that culture champion to hold up that mirror and say, let's take a step back and take a look at this and say, if we need to produce something that is not necessarily fully aligned with our culture, how do we best align it? And tell people why we are maybe not following our normal culture for an exception reason that comes up. It should be rare if that happens, but you have to acknowledge that this is not who we say we want to be, and why are we doing it then?